When I got the job offer in Houston, Texas, right out of college, I accepted it immediately. I lived in Maine my entire life and had never stepped into Texas, so the move was daunting. I knew no one there and had very little money saved up to make the move. I picked this small studio apartment downtown. Apart from my clothes and some utensils, I had nothing to my name. As a girl on a budget, I turned to Facebook Marketplace to find good second-hand furniture. I bought a tea table from an old lady at a reasonable price. Then I bought a big antique cupboard to make my place more aesthetic. But while I was scrolling on Facebook Marketplace one evening, I saw a beautiful wooden dresser. It was straight out of a 1950s movie. In the description of the dresser, the seller, who went by the name of Johnson, wrote that it was his grandmother's. The dresser was custom made in 1930 and was in good condition despite the years. He simply had grown out of space to keep it and wanted to sell it to someone who would love it just as much. I was an avid fan of anything antique, and the dresser, along with its little seat, was pretty cheap. I immediately contacted the seller and made an offer to purchase it. I had a truck, so I could easily pick it up from his place. The seller was too happy to sell me the dresser, but first he had a few questions. It was odd because all the sellers I'd contacted on Facebook Marketplace so far were more than happy to sell their things at the asking price without too many questions. But this man was different. "I need to ask you a few questions before I sell this dresser to you." What sort of questions?" I text back as I had no clue. "Have you ever possessed any piece of vintage furniture before?" When he asked that question, I thought he was just reluctant to sell his dead grandmother's dresser to just anyone. He truly wanted it to go to someone who valued it. I respected this man's wishes and answered honestly. "No. However, my dad had a gramophone from the 1940s. "Do you have any plans of reselling it at a higher price or keeping it for yourself?" "I want it for myself," I typed back. "Can you share a picture of the place where you'll be placing the dresser?" This request was odd, but I didn't have anything to lose, or so I thought, so I sent him the picture. It was a quiet corner beside my bed. "When can I pick up the dresser?" I texted, to which he replied, "How will you be taking the dresser to your home? Do you have a proper transport vehicle to do that?" By then, I was growing increasingly frustrated with all his questions, but the dresser was too beautiful to pass up, despite the seller having a multitude of questions. So once again, I answered patiently. "I drive a truck, sir, so I think the dresser will fit perfectly well in it. I've even transported a big wooden cupboard in it." "Can you send me a picture of your truck?" I huffed when I read that message. I ran downstairs and clicked a picture of my truck from all angles to send to the seller, thinking he would finally give me the details as to when and where I could pick up the dresser. But once I hit send on the pictures of the truck, the man backpedaled. "I think it would be good if I just dropped off the dresser at your place. Your truck isn't equipped to transport such a delicate piece of furniture." Did he want more money? Why was he offering to bring it here when I told him I had transported a cupboard that was much bigger than the dresser in my pickup? "Sir, is there an issue with the agreed-upon price?" "No, not at all. I'm just concerned that you might break the dresser while transporting it." "I assure you, sir, I won't. I've used this pickup truck to transport not just people, but a lot of stuff, too." "I think it would be better if I just dropped it off at your place." Truth be told, I was super uncomfortable letting an unknown man come into my home, so I decided to withdraw my offer altogether. The dresser wasn't worth compromising my safety. "I'm sorry, but I'm no longer interested in the dresser. Please find someone worthy of it." I logged out of Facebook and went about my day. A couple of days had passed, and I'd forgotten all about the dresser and the strange conversation I had with the seller. I was busy cooking lunch when my doorbell rang. Before opening the door, I peeped through the peephole. A man I didn't recognize was standing at my door. I cracked the door open and peeked out. "Yes, how may I help?" "Are you Audrey?" the man asked. "I am," I answered, not knowing what this person wanted from me. Was he a new neighbor? The man extended his hand for me to shake, and I had to open my door fully. "Hi, I'm Johnson," he said as he shook my hand. "We spoke on the Facebook Marketplace. I have your dresser downstairs. Will you help me carry it upstairs?" A ton of questions popped into my mind, but the most prominent was how the hell did this man find me? And this was the exact situation I wanted to avoid. "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't want the dresser anymore." I tried to shut the door on his face, but he put his foot between the door frame before I could shut it. "Come on now. I got it here for you. The least you could do is help me to bring it up." All the hair on my body was on high alert, as I knew there was something very wrong with this situation. I had clearly stated that I no longer was interested in purchasing the dresser. "Sir, I need you to leave." I tried to sound firm and brave, but I knew I was breaking from within. I was scared as Johnson was a big guy in front of my 5'4" frame. He had held open my door, coaxing me to follow him. I knew something worse was waiting for me. In a split second, I ran into my home, grabbed my phone from the tea table, locked myself in the bathroom. Tears rolled down my face as I dialed 911. Johnson had followed me into my house and was banging on the bathroom door, trying to force it open. I told the operator that an intruder was in my house, trying to harm me. She assured me that the cops were on the way, but I knew that Johnson would break the door before they got here. So in a panic, I grabbed the loose shower head, and as soon as he broke open the door, I hit him hard on the head with it. He fell on the ground right there, blood seeping from his head as I ran out. The cops found me huddled in the lobby of my apartment building. Johnson was arrested and taken to a hospital first. A day later, I was called to the station, and what I was told scared the crap out of me. Johnson was a serial killer who had a history of killing women in their own homes while he visited them under the pretense of delivering a beautiful antique dresser. He had killed 5 women up to now. I was supposed to be the 6th. I was the only one brave enough to fight. He had tracked my location by finding my IP address. I deleted Facebook that day and never bought anything off its marketplace ever again. Johnson was sentenced to life imprisonment. But every time the bell rings, a part of me still gets on high alert.
I've replayed that night in my head 1,000 times. The last time I saw Emily. She was my best friend. We grew up together, swapped secrets, sat at the same lunch table every single day. And the thing that haunts me most is that I noticed something was off. I noticed, but I didn't say enough. I grew up with Emily. We were the kind of best friends that people joked were inseparable, always in the same classes, always sitting next to each other, always swapping secrets like they were treasures. She had this laugh that made everyone else laugh too, even if the joke wasn't funny. And for me, she was more than just my friend. She was like the sister I never had. We did everything together. Late-night phone calls about crushes, homework crammed in 10 minutes before class, summer bike rides until the streetlights came on. There wasn't a single part of my life that Emily wasn't woven into. She was safe, she was comfort, she was the person I trusted more than anyone. But sometimes I wonder if that trust blinded me, if the closeness we had made me hesitate when I should have spoken up. Maybe if I had pushed harder, if I had shouted instead of whispering, she would still be here. The truth is, nothing in our years of friendship prepared me for the day she accepted that Facebook request. It was 2012, and Facebook was everything to us back then. Every lunch break, every after-school hangout, Emily and I would scroll through our feeds, tagging each other in silly posts, laughing at old memes, poking people just for the fun of it. That's when she showed me his profile. Look at him, she said, eyes wide like she'd just uncovered a secret. His name was Chris. Profile picture, a clean-cut guy, maybe 17 or 18, with that smirk that girls our age fell for instantly. His bio was short, just a few lines about liking music, cars, and movies, but to Emily, that was enough to spark her imagination. "He's cute, right?" she asked, nudging me with her shoulder. I remember shrugging. Something about the profile didn't sit right with me. He had only a handful of photos, all perfectly posed like stock images pulled off the internet. His friend list was short, too, mostly girls from other schools we didn't recognize. But Emily didn't see that. She saw the attention. The late-night messages where he told her she was beautiful. The comments under her posts with just enough charm to make her blush. And soon she was glued to her phone in ways she hadn't been before, always waiting for his next message. At first, I laughed it off. It's just online flirting, I told myself. We were teenagers, it was normal, but deep down, I felt something was off. He knew too much about her, too quickly. The way he asked about her family, her school, her favorite places, it wasn't playful curiosity, it felt calculated. And yet every time I voiced my concern, Emily waved it away. "Don't be paranoid, he's sweet, you don't know him like I do." Those words haunt me now. Because she didn't know him either. Not really. The messages started out innocent enough. Late-night chats about music, silly jokes, compliments that made Emily giggle, but before long, they shifted. Chris began asking where she liked to hang out. Did she walk home from school, or did someone pick her up? Did she usually go out on weekends? Who did she spend time with? The way he slipped those questions in was subtle, like it was casual small talk. But I noticed. Every detail he pulled from her was another piece of a puzzle he was putting together, and Emily didn't even see it happening. She became secretive, too. One afternoon, I asked her to come to the mall with me like we always did. She hesitated. Then she said she already had plans. Plans with him. That was the first time my stomach truly dropped. "You don't even know him, Em," I told her, trying not to sound like I was lecturing. "You've never met him. He could be anybody." But she just smiled and shook her head. "You're overreacting. I know him better than you think. He understands me." That word, understand, it hit me like ice, because I realized she wasn't just flirting anymore, she trusted him. It was around then that Emily started pulling away from everyone else. Family dinners, sleepovers, even choir practice. She skipped them more often than not. Every time, the excuse was the same. Chris needed me. And then came the message that would change everything. One Friday night, she leaned in close, her voice barely above a whisper. "He wants to meet me. In person." I can still feel the chill that crawled up my spine. Emily told me she was going to meet him on Saturday night. She said it so casually, like she was talking about a trip to the movies. But I could hear her voice shaking beneath the excitement. "He's driving down from out of town," she whispered. "He says he can't wait any longer." My chest tightened. "Emily, this is crazy. You don't know who he is. What if he's lying about everything?" She rolled her eyes. "You sound like my mom. I've seen his pictures, okay? I know him." But deep down, I think she had doubts too, because that Saturday when the sun dipped below the horizon and the streets turned dark, Emily didn't tell her parents she was leaving. She just slipped out of the house, her phone clutched tight, her steps quick and nervous. I know because I followed her. She walked to the park near the edge of town, the one with the broken swing set and the flickering streetlight. The place looked like something out of a bad dream. I stayed back, hiding behind the trees, my breath clouding in the cold air. Her phone buzzed in her hand, and I heard her laugh, soft, nervous. Then a car pulled up, a dark sedan. The engine cut, the door creaked open. But the man who stepped out wasn't the boy from the pictures. He was older, much older. His face was shadowed, but even from where I stood, I could see the wrongness of it. His heavy frame, his slow, deliberate steps. Emily froze. "Chris?" she called out, her voice trembling, and in that moment I knew. Chris was never real. I remember the way Emily's body stiffened when the man came closer. She glanced at her phone, then back at him, confusion written all over her face. "You're not Chris?" she whispered. He smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that made you feel safe. It was slow, stretched, wrong. "I've been waiting a long time to meet you," he said. His voice was deeper, colder than anything Emily had described. I wanted to run out and grab her to pull her away, but fear pinned me to the ground. My heart was slamming so loud in my chest I was sure they could both hear it. Emily hesitated, backing up a step. "This isn't funny," she said, her voice shaking. "Where's Chris?" The man smiled, didn't fade. Instead, he reached out and grabbed her arm. Emily let out a sharp cry, the kind of sound that still echoes in my nightmares. She struggled, but he was stronger, dragging her toward the car. I couldn't move. My legs refused to listen, my voice caught in my throat. And then the car door slammed shut, the engine roared to life, and the sedan disappeared into the night, taking Emily with it. By the time my body finally reacted, it was too late. I ran to the empty road, the red taillights already vanishing in the distance. The air smelled of exhaust and panic, and I stood there shaking, realizing I had just watched my best friend vanish. Hours later, when Emily's parents called asking if I'd seen her, my stomach dropped. I wanted to tell them everything, but I couldn't. Not yet. All I could say was, she never came home. The hours after Emily vanished felt like a blur. Her parents called everyone they knew, friends, neighbors, even distant relatives, hoping someone had seen her. I sat in their living room that night, the TV on but muted, the sound of her mother's sobs filling every corner of the house. The police arrived just after midnight. They asked the usual questions. When was the last time you saw her? Who was she with? Did she say anything unusual? I wanted to tell them everything, but guilt locked the words in my throat. How could I admit I'd seen it happen? That I'd been close enough to help, but froze. So instead, I said the only thing I could. She mentioned meeting someone from Facebook, a boy named Chris. That was when the officers exchanged looks that told me they'd heard this before. They asked for Emily's phone and computer, and within hours, the truth began to unravel. Chris wasn't real. He had a carefully crafted profile, stock photos, fake friends, posts designed to seem harmless. But behind it was a man named Daniel Crow, a 32-year-old predator with a history of grooming girls online. As detectives scrolled through the messages, Emily's mother broke down beside me. Each line of text felt like a knife. Promises of love, compliments about her smile, assurances that he understood her better than anyone else. Every word was a trap, and Emily had walked right into it. The town mobilized quickly. Flyers with Emily's face went up overnight. Search parties combed through the woods and riverbanks. Candlelight vigils lit up the park. For the first time in my life, I saw an entire community united by one desperate hope: bring Emily home. But even as I held a candle in my trembling hands, I couldn't shake the truth I was hiding, that I had seen the man take her, and if I had screamed, if I had run forward instead of freezing, maybe, just maybe, Emily would still be safe. It was 5 days later when they found her. I'll never forget the call. Emily's father answered the phone, and the way his body crumbled told me everything before he even spoke. Her body had been discovered in an abandoned storage unit just outside town, left there as if she was nothing more than a secret to be hidden away. The air in that house turned heavy. Her mother collapsed to the floor, her cries so raw they barely sounded human. I sat frozen on the couch, staring at the family photos on the wall, Emily in her cheer uniform, Emily blowing out candles on her 14th birthday, Emily holding her baby cousin with that same bright smile she wore every day. Now those photos were all that was left. The details of her final hours weren't shared with everyone, but whispers traveled fast in our small town. What I do know is this: Daniel Crow had tricked her into thinking he cared, and when she trusted him enough to meet, he stole everything from her: her laughter, her future, her life. I replayed that night in my head again and again, the way Emily looked at me before stepping into his car. There was trust in her eyes. Maybe she thought I would stop her if it wasn't safe. Maybe she believed I'd protect her, and I didn't. The police arrested Crow not long after. He didn't resist, didn't even look ashamed, just stared blankly as if none of it mattered. The trial would come later, but for us, for her friends and family, the damage was already done. No verdict could bring Emily back. At her funeral, the church was so packed, so full that people stood outside in the cold just to pay their respects. Her favorite song played softly as the casket was lowered, and I thought about how quickly trust had turned into tragedy, how something as harmless as a Facebook message had led us all here. In the weeks after Emily's death, Facebook no longer felt the same. Every message, every friend request carried a shadow. Parents checked their kids' accounts constantly, and whispers of stranger danger turned into strict rules. But rules didn't heal the hole Emily left behind. For me, the hardest part was silence. Her bedroom window, once glowing late at night while we messaged each other, stayed dark. Her desk at school sat empty, her notebook still filled with doodles and half-written assignments. I used to imagine she'd come walking through the doors again, smiling like she always did. But reality never gave us that. I still scroll through her old Facebook posts sometimes. Pictures of ice cream runs, inside jokes in the comments, silly selfies she swore she hated but posted anyway. They're frozen in time, snapshots of a girl who trusted too easily in a world that didn't deserve her kindness. And that's the truth that still chills me. Evil doesn't always announce itself with shadows in alleys or locked doors at night. Sometimes it comes disguised as a friend request, a smile behind a screen, a boy who promises to understand you. If Emily's story teaches us anything, it's this. Be vigilant. Don't trust so easily, no matter how harmless someone might seem online. Because the real monsters aren't always strangers in the dark, they're the ones who know how to make you feel safe before they strike. Emily Carter. A friend, a daughter, a light we thought would never go out. Now, her story lives on as a warning we can't afford to ignore. This story is a fictionalized account inspired by real events. Names, locations, and identifying details have been changed. It is created for awareness and educational purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Have you ever met someone on social media? To be honest, I met many of my friends through Facebook. They used to say that the internet is full of weird and dangerous people, and I always laughed at that. People are too suspicious and paranoid. I always believed that. Always until I met Emily. And that's when I realized that people on Facebook weren't dangerous, but it only took meeting the wrong person for everything to change. I was at home bored, as usual, so I decided to browse Facebook looking for some entertainment. After a while, I came across the profile of a girl named Emily. She had a beaming smile in her profile picture, and her bio said she liked horror movies as much as I did. So, without much thought, I sent her a friend request, and to my surprise, she accepted me right away. We started chatting, and the conversation flowed smoothly. We talked about our favorite horror movies, our hobbies, and all sorts of things. Emily seemed like someone cool. We talked for weeks, sharing our stories and confidences as if we had known each other forever. Finally, we decided to meet in person. She suggested that I come to her house since her dad was nice and she wasn't going to have a problem with me having a guest. To be honest, I was a little hesitant about this. I lived alone. It would have been a lot easier for her to come to my house. But how do I tell a girl to do that? I preferred to do what made her feel comfortable. So with my doubts and all, I agreed to go to her house. I had no idea what a mistake I was making. I remember clearly the night I went to her house. I was really scared and nervous. This was not coming from the terror side, but this tension was something nice. It was something you feel when you are getting to know someone new. I headed to the address Emily had given me, and upon arriving, I found an old and somewhat spooky house. The area was not too friendly, and the house looked very poorly kept. I sensed that something was wrong, that I was entering a place I had no business entering. I ignored my instincts and rang the doorbell. After a few seconds, a man opened the door for me. He had a piercing and rather obsessive look on his face, but a surprisingly friendly smile. He greeted me enthusiastically and invited me in, telling me that Emily would be ready in a few minutes. This was surely her father, who Emily told me was very intimate with her, as he was all she had since her mother's death. As I waited in the living room, I noticed a series of pictures on the wall. They showed a man and a young girl smiling together. That was Emily and the man who just opened the door for me. Father and daughter. As I waited, I heard two voices from upstairs in Emily's room. "I don't care. Tell her to wait for me. I'm almost done. Well, but hurry up. You'll leave him waiting. You have to be more punctual, Emily. Yeah, sure, whatever. Just go. After that talk, the man came back. He apologized for the wait and told me that Emily was upstairs, finishing getting ready. He offered me a seat and we started talking. It was at that moment that I started to feel that something was wrong. At first, I thought this was going to be the typical father talk, telling me to take care of the daughter or not to molest her. But instead, something else happened. The man was staring at me obsessively with a huge grin. At first, I thought it was something to intimidate me. Maybe he was being funny. But when he spoke to me, I realized this was not so. So, you were talking to Emily on Facebook, right? That's great. I use Facebook too. It's a great place to meet people. Yeah, of course it is. You know, Emily and I are pretty much alike. Our tastes are very similar, but don't you think it's bizarre that if you were a woman and you were my age, you might be after me and not my daughter? I hadn't asked myself that. At that point, I just wanted him to go away. The man kept asking me weird questions and comments that didn't go in any direction. Meanwhile, he kept looking at me. His eyes were shiny and full of veins. He seemed to be holding something back. Don't confuse me. He still didn't look like a bad person, but he was starting to scare me. He looked like a person who, although not evil, could hurt me. Suddenly, the man stopped looking at me and looked up the stairs. He was silent for a few seconds and then turned to look at me. He told me that Emily was telling him to go wait for her upstairs. At that moment, I swore I hadn't heard Emily. I was sure I hadn't heard anyone, but I still agreed and went upstairs. Anywhere was better than being in the dining room talking to that man. Once I got into Emily's room, there was no one in it. The place was surprisingly luxurious. It even had a bathroom inside. The walls were freshly painted and the room was full of stuff. From the bathroom, I heard the shower running. I was sure Emily was taking a bath. I sat on her bed to wait. I yelled to her that her father had sent me here, but she didn't hear me, so I was going to wait for her to turn off the shower before I spoke to her again. After a few minutes, the door opened. But it wasn't the bathroom door. It was the dining room door. Out of that door stepped Emily's father once again, but something had changed about him. The man was now dressed as a woman wearing a wig. The 50-plus-year-old man was playing with his hair as if he were a woman, and he was looking at me in a completely different way. Hey, sorry to keep you waiting. I hope my dad didn't make you too uncomfortable. I was shocked. The voice had completely changed. It was like I was a completely different person. Do you know what the scariest thing about this is? That was Emily's voice. The same voice I had heard a while before while I was waiting for her. What? Are you playing some kind of sick joke on me? What is it, silly? It's me. Emily, I'm ready to go for coffee. Will you hold my hand? As the man with the wig approached me with one hand outstretched, I could see how with the other hand he was hiding something. I made an effort to see what it was that he was holding behind his back, and I could see it. It was a knife. This man had a huge knife behind his back. I slowly moved away from him. The man was covering the exit door, possibly attacking me if I tried to cross it. There was no window or other means of escape. My only option was to go into the bathroom. After a few seconds of staring at him, I ran to the bathroom door, and luckily it was open. I locked myself in while the man kicked it with all his might. That's when I realized something else. Emily, she wasn't taking a bath. The shower was on, but there didn't seem to be anyone behind her. Both scared and confused, I pulled back the shower curtain, and there she was. She was a skeleton. In the bathtub was a skeleton in perfect condition, dressed in women's clothes. I gave a muffled scream and fell to the floor in fright, while behind the door I heard voices again. What are you doing, Dad? You let him escape. It was your fault. You always leave the bathroom door open. Ah, whatever. He's going to discover the body. Now you have to kill him. I know. Don't tell your father what to do. No sooner had the conversation ended that the pounding on the door came back with a vengeance. The door was not going to hold much longer. I had to do something. The door opened violently, and on the other side was the man without the wig and with the knife in his hand. As soon as the door opened, I threw the only element I had to throw at him, the plastic toilet seat. I threw it at him with all my strength, and somehow the man reflexively pushed it away with his arm, which I took advantage of to ram him and run to the exit door. As I ran, he was still behind me, just a few inches away. If I tripped over something or fell a second behind, he would catch me and plunge his knife into me. I could see the exit door from the stairs, but in that split second, I knew that as I opened the door, he would surely catch me. I turned around and went to the dining room, where I jumped through the glass, shattering it and escaping from the house. Once I was there, the man stopped chasing me, and I kept running to the police station at full speed. Shortly after I reported to them, the police arrested the man and inspected the body. The police managed to discover who that skeleton in the bathroom belonged to. It was Emily, and she had died long before I met her. All this time I was talking to the father, who was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. He confessed to killing his daughter, who then became his other personality. After that, he went around meeting people and killing them, then burying them in the backyard. I never tried to meet anyone on Facebook again. Sometimes I look at Emily's profile, and I remember when I was talking to her excitedly. Meanwhile, her father was texting me on the other side of the computer, telling me he was his dead daughter, while he was planning how to kill me.